Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, February 5th, 2024, and I hear an echo. Okay. This is the City of Liberty Lake Parks and Arts Commission meeting. We'll start our meeting today by doing a roll call of members. My name is Nancy Hill, present. David Heimbach.
Present.
Laura Frank.
Present.
Please note that Tom Chamberlain and John Barr are not able to join us today, and those are excused absences. Noel Otterson Laparco. Present. Bob Schneidmiller.
Present.
Hi, Bob. Glad you could join us. Katie
Yes.
Ferris. Joni Hay.
Present.
Hi, Joni. Glad you could join.
Thank
Al-
you.
Allison Pegram.
Present.
Hi, Allison.
Hi.
And our staff today is Tate Hunter and Jen Camp, and we're also joined by our city administrator, Mark McAvoy. So welcome, everyone. We'll start the evening with the approval of the January 8th, 2024 minutes. Commissioners, those are in your packets. Have you had a chance to look at them? And are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, then if we could get a motion to approve.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Please show the minutes approved as written. Moving on to citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments today online or in person? Nothing online? Okay. No citizen comments. We'll move on to item 5 of our agenda, which is our unfinished and new business. Our first item is the Smarty Signs update. David, would you mind going over that?
I will. Thank you.
And there are some items in your packet if you want to take a look.
So we received a bid for the communications board, which will be installed in Orchard Park. So that bid, as you can see, is $2,830. On the following page, there's a couple of different displays, which is this section here. You can see that there. That's a couple of the different displays that we have suggestions for. So it's more than what we allocated. I think it's about $350 additional. I know that there was some questions with regards to the tax. Jen, can you fill me in on that? Did you?
She has not responded to
Okay,
me.
okay. So,
So there could potentially be tax added to it.
okay. So with that as it is, their protocol is they start the project and then bill us, I think is what they would like. And then from there, we installed. I believe the city actually has to do the installation. I don't think that covers the installation. Is that correct?
Correct.
So other than that, we went ahead and approved it. So if there's tax on that is it city or is it state tax that they charge? Do you know, Jen?
I'll have to find out from
Okay.
finance.
So it would be over $3,000, and I guess what we needed to just discuss, if we need to, is do we want to use the additional funds from the beautification line items to cover the difference? That would be my only thought that we would need to really discuss about it, since we already went ahead and, decided that we do want it.
I had a question on the bid on this page here, page 1 of
Let me
3.
turn back to that.
It said custom icon design, and it's $180 per icon, and that's times 3. I don't know where that number came from. I assume it's something we selected. I don't really know. And then the logo customization, I'm assuming that will be our City of
logo.
Liberty Lake logo.
Correct.
But I
Correct.
don't know what the icon is. Do you?
Frankly, I haven't heard back from her since this. I only received this last week. So, but I'll definitely find out and shoot you an email what that specifically entails.
Is there any other decisions that we need to make? Because I know the boards are somewhat customized, or do they have like a general design that they recommend?
Well,
It's been so long since we
I
had
know,
a
I know.
presentation.
so again, the two displays here are the two that we have. They have, if you go to their website, they have different types of boards for different areas of the community. These two that are shown here, the blue and the light green one, are for use in a park.
Oh, okay.
So we would have one of these is my guess. And again, I have not actually had an opportunity to reach out to them since I received the proposal. But other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward. I will find more information out when I reach out to her tomorrow morning. But first off, I guess I wanted to find out, can we use the additional funds? So what I will do is I'll find out, I'll ask about the tax potential. I'll ask about the customization. So my guess, if we have to have it taxed, if that's possible, we're looking at, another $300-ish on top of that bid to cover tax, maybe a little bit less. But I would like to, if we're gonna go through with it, as we already alluded that we wanted to, I'd like to go ahead and get that process started. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
I think it's a great project, and I think we have other line items that we can get the extra dollars from, so I don't think that will be a problem.
It shouldn't be too much of a big addition. Okay.
Do we get to pick all the icons, or do they have a set kind of standard park one that they
I don't know,
recommend and then
But I will find out.
Okay.
So like these different icons that you see.
Yeah,
here,
I mean.
you feel like we
small,
pick them,
But there's a lot of
if we pick
overlap.
them or if they're pre-selected?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll find that out tomorrow.
I feel like she told us in her initial presentation that most of them are, there's like a,
I think there's a set, but that's why I'm wondering if the customization is
Like
picking
a-
different
like a
tiles
template
outside of their
for
template.
parks.
Or if it's things that are unique to Orchard Park or Liberty Lake, or
Yeah.
Right.
what the customization fee
Right.
I
is
think
from
they
that.
had a template for parks, but then you had the option to customizing, like you could make the playground icon look like the actual playground in that
Yeah.
park. et cetera.
Yeah. And then since we're having it in Orchard Park, we'd have the playground and we have the splash pad, so that kind of adds another element to it. As far as symbols, I suppose.
Yeah, so there may be more than 3 customizations that we want to make, or I don't know. That's why I was just curious how they.
Well, we want to
Okay,
make
that's
sure it's
that.
usable, I think, so
Yeah.
it's,
I'll find out in the next couple of days and then I'll email you and then
yeah, maybe you
or
can get,
Jen, and then Jen, if you want to disseminate it out from there.
yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Dave. We
Mhm.
appreciate you taking the lead on that. All right, any other questions or comments about the Smarty signs? All right, other than that, we'll be moving ahead with that project. I'm excited to see it come to fruition. So next on the agenda is a bicycle communities update from Katie. Katie, thanks for taking
Yep.
this on, our bicycle representative.
Yes. Well, when I joined up, Jen had mentioned that Liberty Lake had applied for the bike-friendly community before. So I did a little research with the National Bike Association. And we had applied. And you'll see the little report that I gave everyone about Liberty Lake Bike-Friendly Community. It was in 2014, so that was 10 years ago. So obviously, we have a lot of things that have changed since then. And so we scored as a bronze level. There's gold, silver, and bronze. So I think updating this, a lot of things have changed. We are doing a lot more in the schools with education about bike safety. So I think we can probably improve our rating up to silver. So I'd like to kind of work on that. Some ideas I have, I also sent for a bike audit kit, and I can pass this around, but it's just more resources to look at to how to improve your city's, standings as far as being bike friendly and bike safe. So we can use that as a resource. And I was thinking it'd be good to kind of have bicyclers from our 4 different areas of our parks. So our 2 parks on the south side, 2 parks on the north side. We could identify some people that are biking that live in those areas and they could maybe help with the bike audit. I don't know if, I know there's people on this committee that are kind of represent Orchard Park or Pavilion Park. I don't know if you're bikers, but you obviously could give input. So that was just one idea as far as using the bike audit toolkit. We could get more information of how we can improve our bike friendly and bike safety here. The other thing I found out is just this year, they have a community spark grant that they're offering to all communities across the United States. And I think it'd be great. We could apply for that. It's like $1,500 that we could use towards bike safety, or maybe we identify something like we need more places to lock up your bikes. Maybe we need to fund those structures. That's just an example. So I would be willing to write the grant and to get the money. You have to apply by the end of June. So you probably, by the time you get the money, we'd maybe use it starting, next year in the spring or something. But, we could maybe we're not done with auditing everything. So, for starters, we could have free helmet giveaways at one of our events that we already have, like, any of our community events that we already have, we could offer free bike helmets to kids that need them. So I could write it for bike helmet giveaways, for our first year. So I would like to see if you guys think that's a good idea and if you want to back me on that. Any comments or? You think I should go for the grant?
Oh, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a radical idea.
Okay.
Definitely.
We have that Barefoot in the Park event where we have a booth, and to do something with bike safety through that would be an amazing
Yeah.
opportunity, I think.
This year, the Scope Bike Safety Program is helping promote some bike to school days, and which I'm involved in. And so we're going to reach out to Selkirk this year. We did Evergreen last year. So we want to expand to Selkirk out here in Liberty Lake. So that's another great thing, so to give away helmets. A lot of the middle school kids have, I haven't put on a helmet since I was in elementary school, but we get the leadership team to kind of spearhead it, and then they think it's cool again, Yeah, so that's happening this spring too.
Well, thanks. It's a great project. A helmet saved my son's life when he was in 8th grade, so I'm
Oh.
very pro helmets.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I just proceed with this, and then I'll just report, back, and then if you guys have any ideas, you can contact me also.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Jen, I have a question. Is there any limitations on grants that we could receive for something like this?
Limitations?
Yeah,
And what?
I mean, are we carte blanche to just apply for the grant? Great, awesome.
Yeah, more money to bet.
We love
More
grants.
bike helmets.
All right. Anything
If
else on
I
bike?
could interrupt, this is Bob.
Hi, Bob.
The Valley Kiwanis has been involved in giving away helmets. And so I think one thing you might want to do, and I would do that, reach out to Liberty Lake Kiwanis to see if they're interested in being involved. So I'll do that and have them get back to you, Nancy, at some point.
Okay, that would be awesome, Bob. Thank you. We appreciate that heads up and the help. Anything else on bicycles? Okay, let's move on to the next item, the Pavilion Historical Outlook, which we have in our budget page, which Jen has attached to our packet. down here ways. And for 2024, we have $20,000 set aside for that. And Laura, we are hoping you might talk about it because we do have some new members on the commission.
Yes, and I apologize. This is going to be a pretty brief update. We had discussed it kind of late summer last year, and so just need to follow up with the Historical Society members and kind of piece together a plan now that we have an approved budget, and there are some Historical Society funds available, I believe, as well. And kind of go from there. So I would like to, my goal will be to have an update at the March meeting and then maybe a more solid plan developed by the April or May meeting for approval to move forward with. But that's, sorry, I kind of fell off my, my plate in front of me. So this is a good reminder to get it moving again.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And do you need any help with the project or you're good for now or?
I think good for now, but probably yes.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll look forward to hearing more in March on that. Moving on to Nature's Place at Meadowwood, and you'll see you have some of the plans for that also in your packet. And Jen, you were gonna kind of go over that a little bit?
Yeah, so what I just wanted to share was that the master plan, there actually was a master plan for the Arboretum back when Wendy Van Orman was the mayor. And so I dug through and found all of the documents from that day, including her document that shows the picnic structure she was proposing. Just to show you that, you know, she didn't necessarily just bring that project out of left field. It was part of the original master plan to have the pavilion type structures or shade structures down in the Arboretum for the history side of things. But you can see it right now. I mean, we've got some of these items are in the Arboretum, the community garden beds. We've got maybe a quarter of the plant material down there that was originally spec'd here. But we really don't have anything else down there. And part of that has been because of the golf ball situation down in the Arboretum. So as that gets resolved, there will be opportunity to continue building upon the master plan if so inclined. And I know she and the Lions Club definitely have that goal in mind. There's a page in here. It's the last of the documents for the Arboretum. You can see how the Lions Club has been involved in the past. In 2015, they paid for and installed this sensory garden that's at the beginning of the entrance. I think they do want to continue to build on that as well, but that part has been accomplished by the Lions Club. So just a little history. So if you hear more about it, you know kind of where this is coming from and where we're at today and how it started. Are there any questions?
Well, it's certainly nice knowing there's a master plan, because I wasn't aware of it until recently, and that's going to help us. And we certainly are very appreciative of the Lions Club for their interest and their support financially in getting some of these projects done. So it'll be exciting once the new net comes up and it's a little safer to be down in that area and see how that gets developed out over time. Any questions about the plan or comments, Laura?
Just a question. I apologize if you covered this last month, but from a Parks and Arts perspective, is there a funding request tied with this, or is it more of keeping the commission in the loop on the project? I know there was a potential request for the picnic structures.
Yes, so, well, yes, so there was a request made to council. I believe if I remember correctly, that it was a $10,000 donation from the Lions and they originally asked for a match to that. What I do know that it did get approved was the $10,000 donation. So if you recall, when Wendy Van Orman came here and presented, they're donating, it's a 6,300, 3,700 split. And I think that, I don't have the donation paperwork in front of me. I think that it was for pavers and picnic benches And so council did approve that donation and it's in the CFP for this year, CFP. It's in the budget for this year, so if there's something that goes beyond the 10,000, no, nothing is.
So no
budgeted.
additional funding is being requested of the commission.
Well, whatever she requested prior in her first approach to the commission.
Did
She
we
was,
end up approved?
cause remember she presented.
They
nothing
presented,
was
we didn't
approved.
vote and
No,
approve on
no,
anything
no.
at this point, so that's why I
No.
was curious if that's still out there and what that number is. If it's just something that we need to keep in front of us and look at the budget line items and where there's opportunity if we do
I
move
think-
forward with that, because it isn't budgeted for this year.
Yeah, it's not budgeted. We haven't approved anything, but now we're aware of the master plan, which
Yeah.
we weren't before, which is helpful. So as the Lions Club comes forward and has some monies, then we can look at potential opportunities to partner. But we don't have anything in our current budget, and that's something we obviously have to plan ahead for.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on the Nature's Place at Meadowwood? All right, moving on to item 6. Our first item is community events and project update. Lisa and Amy.
All right, so in your guys' packet, I believe Jen shared a document that I've been working on for community event rules and requirements. It's something I kind of have talked to you guys about in the past, about just some of the things that people propose in community events and how we may respond as a city to allow those things or conditions that may be associated with certain aspects of it. So originally, we had talked about limiting certain events on park property that would serve alcohol on a continuous basis. And a suggestion was made that rather than limiting those, we ask them to share their profits from those endeavors. So that there is I believe it's on page number 13. Where it says events with alcohol. I've highlighted it because I wanted everybody to kind of take a look at it and hoping that this kind of getting some direction from you guys, if this captured what you were hoping to capture, if this is something that you're interested in pursuing. Again, this document is in a very draft form. So we're looking for feedback from you guys. If there's anything in here that strikes a nerve or you don't think we should be doing, or just any general feedback that you guys might have on it.
100% for it. I am.
Cool.
I'm curious if in your research, if other municipalities have had similar items.
Yes, so, well, it wasn't specific to alcohol, but I did take that policy and the language straight from Moses Lake. But they do it for all sales and services that are on city property. So it's not just alcohol sales, it's any goods or service that's sold. They require them to share a portion of the profits.
Okay.
Can we change that to revenue? Just to make it clear.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's revenue in here. I'm just saying it's not profit, it's revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
While everybody's looking at it for a minute, what are the next steps on the policy?
Well, so right now, like I said, we're just trying to kind of vet this document internally and with you guys. I've sent this out to our police department and to the Spokane Valley Fire Department for them to look at their kind of key pieces. Right now, I think what we're looking to do is get everything as set up as we can for when we get the new parks, the new recreation coordinator person on board, so then they can kind of take the fodder that I've created and turn it into the program that they're going to implement. They have a lot more experience actually doing these things on the ground. And so I think we're gonna kind of put a little bit of a pause on it for a couple of weeks until that person gets on board so that they can take it from there with their expertise and fine tune it so that our end product and what we actually go forward with to the public is well thought out and is ready to go.
Will we be seeing that end product before it goes to the public?
Yes.
Okay.
We can do that, yeah, and what we'll do is when we hit final draft between you and the new recreation coordinator, we'll bring that final draft to you all, ask you to study it, be prepared with any questions, and then give it your vote to move forward to council.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Oh, Lisa? I thought she was walking up to the podium. Can I pick your brain for a minute? Sure. We kind of snuck you in under project updates, but we had a question at our last commission meeting on, you know, there's projects coming forward and there's the unfunded list and there's some various things, but we kind of have an issue. We don't have enough property to do a lot of the things that, you know, that are suggested or we may want to look at going forward. Does the city have any kind of property acquisition plan for parks or recreational space?
So we have a parks master plan and pretty much the land, the parks that were identified in that plan have been acquired. We will be going through our periodic comprehensive plan update. And as part of that, we're going to be looking at a capital facilities plan for 20 years that really is going to be looking at the build out of our city. So that will be an opportunity to, again, look at level of service and determine whether there is an additional need to identify park locations, additional park locations, additional facility locations and again, so those are the facilities master plan and also the looking at parks and capital facilities in the periodic comprehensive plan update.
When is the update scheduled?
So the update, we're in the very beginning of the process, looking at population projections and that sort of thing, and looking at all the changes that the legislature has made to the Growth Management Act. This is a 2.5-year process. We won't actually be adopting it until 2026. June of 2026 is the deadline. But once we get through the population projections and the land quantity analysis, housing capacity analyses, et cetera, we will be launching some of these other activities. And it will be a very robust public process, and we will be likely engaging this commission amongst other commissions in that process. I think Community Engagement Commission is going to be very involved. Obviously, the Planning Commission will be very involved, but you guys will have a piece of it also.
Okay.
Does
good
that
to
answer
know.
your question?
I think so.
And I think there was a question on Kramer Parkway, when that will be released by WashDOT so that they can wrap the Kramer signal box and the legacy signal box.
That's a really good
Yeah.
question. Closeout for WashDOT takes some time. We're not even actually anticipating, they haven't closed out the Barker Road project yet.
Really?
So, and it is wrapped up with this, the Harvard Road Bridge widening and this project. We're all one project under the Connecting Washington program, the grant funding. And so right now they're predicting that they're going to be closing out the project in 2025. So we'll see. There's a lot that goes into that, and they still have punch lists to do and whatnot. In terms of you're looking at specifically the roundabout area, is that correct?
Yeah, and then the
And the other
little
piece.
triangle piece of property on the south.
So I can inquire about that. I mean, that is our property. And so the city owns those. And so it may be that we don't have to wait till the full closeout. They have done substantial completion on the project. I can certainly look into that and get back to you.
Because we have actually budgeted for 2024 work on the Kramer Parkway. So I don't know if we need to
Well,
massage our budget.
I don't think so. So there was a, basically, I'm sorry, I'm going to go into the weeds just a little bit. As part of the project, WashDOT, we, the city, had to contribute $6 million to the project, of which some of that was through right of way that we acquired with impact fee credits. And some of that was actually, we paid for the design, and we paid for up to $1 million of the actual construction project. So our piece has been paid. There was a $150,000 credit for landscaping that was granted to the city. What that meant is that went towards that $6 million. So we didn't get any dollars per se, but that's now all on us. And that was because you really don't want guys who design highways to plant your landscaping. So anyhow, long story short is that is something that the roundabout is ours. We can go in and we can definitely do that. I will need to check on the other piece, but again, we acquired the right of way, so I don't think that's a problem either. But I know that there have been some discussions already about the planting for the roundabout.
Okay, well, if you could let us know ideally before our next meeting, because we need
Absolutely.
to start discussing ideas on what that might look like.
Sure.
And is there a plan for the landscaping, the $150,000 worth of landscaping?
That's on Jen and her crew.
Ah, well, we know who to ask then. Okay,
No plan as of right now.
no plan. Okay, all right, well, thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, next up on our agenda is 4th of July naming events. David? Thanks
So,
for coming.
I'll give a little background on this. Go ahead and, the background on this is that every 4th of July, the city coordinates with Kiwanis to put on the fireworks show. That's the city's portion of it. And then the music in the park, which is Kiwanis side of things. This year, we were approached to do this umbrella type event to also include what are we calling it? The Liberty Lake Community Parade, the boat parade, the fireworks on the lake, and the opening night of July 3rd. And I just got an email to see if they're having the concert or the movie on July 3rd. Oh, they do not have the concert or the movie on July 3rd. So anyway, nothing in each of these pieces is changing, but we're fitting it under an umbrella event to call it something, and coordinating with Marla Larson and Tishy and Kiwanis and the city and Jeff O'Shea to all come together, all coordinate, organize it, and that's where I'm gonna let David Gaynor take it over.
Yeah, basically, this is a way to maintain those separate events, like around 5, depending on how you want to count them. But also find a way to promote them together under, and the term I introduced as an umbrella event, umbrella name, which I think would primarily be having it on some kind of like 11x17 poster, possibly with a reader board, just a way to help advertise all those things together to create maybe a little bit more of an enhanced event to all these separate things that are happening on a Wednesday and Thursday in the first part of July. So the idea was raised of, rather than having the people who were here at the meeting here 2 weeks ago, just try to come up with a name. Let's kind of use some additional brain power, some creativity power, and bring the idea to you folks as well as to the Community Engagement Commission later this week or next week. And see what ideas you may have as what could be the name of this umbrella event. Something along the lines of kickoff to, and these are kind of very generic examples, but kickoff to summer or start off your 4th with us, something like that. A way to communicate we have all these different things happening over the course of 2 days, all connected with 4th of July in some way. And we would like your assistance in the next several weeks until the next meeting, which I think is in April.
April.
So we can come up with some suggested names to the next meeting of the group. And add your brainstorming to theirs and community engagement. Am I missing anything?
No, so as you may think of some names, maybe we can come to the top 2 or 3 as a group. And I will get that information to David. He will communicate with the CEC and maybe we'll figure out a vote, or I don't know how that'll work, but once maybe Parks and Arts has a couple of options, CEC has a couple of options, maybe council chooses, I don't know. We'll figure that part out, but.
Is this something just we will be voting on, or is it open to the community vote?
Well, I don't know. I would imagine the Community Engagement Commission will probably reach out, maybe.
Possibly, I'm not sure what opportunities there'll be between now and April, though. to
Yeah.
Do something
Yeah.
that wide.
Okay.
Well,
Essentially, the way I look at this is we had, what, about 10 people in the room here having this meeting, but we've got another dozen people whose ideas that could be part of this, you folks in CEC.
You have suggestions?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna, I jotted down some ideas.
Okay. So maybe email me if you come up with ideas, email me some options, and at the next meeting, I'll put them all together and we go from there.
Mhm.
Does that work?
Yeah.
And I'll add to this, I gave the example of kickoff to summer, but technically there are things happening in June, so it's really not I don't want to guide you on that line of thinking. There are other options out there. Help us find the best one.
So the idea is all the events under the umbrella are open to everyone?
As
The
far as I
public.
know,
Yeah.
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 And again, it's primarily, in fact, it is just these July 3rd and 4th events that Jen mentioned. And when is the movie kickoff, do we know?
I just got an email back from Tim Olson at Kiwanis saying they're not doing the July 3rd movie,
Oh, okay.
which they traditionally have done, but they're not doing it, so. Thank you, David.
Yep.
I have a question for David.
Oh,
I was just wondering, are all the community events for the whole year in Liberty Lake, are they on the website? Like
I would say the vast majority of them are, not all of them have dates with them yet. I started adding dates here the last couple of weeks as we started to get them known. There are a few where I just kind of generically say summer or to be announced. And there could be some more coming up that we don't know about yet. And if you find out about those, let her know, let me know.
yeah, so I know there's basic ones that happen every year, but I just wondering if the exact date is updated yet, like for the whole year?
They are, the ones that are known are online right now.
Okay,
And essentially since I showed up here almost 2 years ago in April, we did our own city version of the summer events. And that year it was for technically the season of summer. June 20th, whatever the dividing line is, through Labor Day. Last year, the CEC came up with the idea of also doing a spring one. I'm kind of planning to probably do something similar, some kind of a poster this year, although, again, I'm still formulating this. It may be 3 calendars instead of 2 because it was just too much to cram in on 11 by 17 paper to get all the April through June stuff and then all the June stuff through 1st of September. I want something more attractive, something more eye-popping.
or maybe they can go to one of those scan codes and go to our
We have had that
website,
on there last
something like
year, yeah.
that. I was just wondering, because if people in the community want to get involved, they might want to look ahead
Yeah.
at the different dates and things.
Yeah, last year we included the QR code to go to the city's website for any updates.
Good.
Is that it?
thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up on our agenda is the Trailhead Art Walls, and we'll start with Rosh Schneidmiller, who is our historical photo guy, and we appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you, and I may need Michael's assistance here because I'm trying to bring this up.
So I clicked on that, but it went away.
So just for background for the commission, there are two art walls at the new Trailhead building. One is as you go in the entrance to the pro shop, and the other as you go in the event entrance. And we've asked, we're exploring options of what kind of art we could have on those walls. So we've asked Ross, who has access to historical Liberty Lake photos, to present a few ideas, and then followed by him, Allison is going to give us a little presentation on student involvement on art. And I was hoping John would be here so we could talk about a little bit the photography club here, but we'll start with you when you're ready. Do you, while he's doing that, do you have some background information?
Absolutely. So,
And make sure you speak into the microphone.
oh yes, I will do that. So, David and Nancy both reached out to me and asked if I had some ideas for historical photos on these two locations at the new facility there at Trailhead. And so I did. And what's interesting is that when we did the mural at Pavilion Park, that was our music history. I had done an article in the Splash probably 10 years ago where I talked about 3 themes that had been part of our community history since the Coeur d'Alene tribe was here. And those 3 themes were gathering, recreation, and music. And so as I thought about it, it wasn't my first initial thoughts, and I have those on slides as well. But I was thinking that facility is unique in that golf is recreation. So there's a way to tell the history of recreation in our community, as well as the event center is a gathering place. And so, both those will fit well with that. I have to see what so do I need to put it up?
Hey, Jen, this is off topic right now while they're getting set up, but do you have on the Kramer roundabout, is there a landscaping plan already pieced together?
Nope.
Okay, because we have the Liberty Lake Together art budgeted for this year too, so I didn't know if that would be a potential option to
Yeah.
explore as part of.
It definitely could be. Yeah.
Okay.
There's-
No,
Well, we can't do these
advance
this year.
Okay.
Can't do these till that close out of 2000. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so how do I go backwards? Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so any, I'll go ahead and put this up. So the first one I'm going to show slides on here is that of gathering. And so, you have a portion of this photo over there, but Liberty Lake was known as Spokane's inland seashore. And 10,000 people on the shores of Liberty Lake back when the whole Inland Empire only had 100,000 people was not uncommon. So 10% of your population in one place, you know, was pretty special. Spokane was the closest body of water where mass transportation serviced it. And so Liberty Lake Park, this is 1923. It's 15 years after they had opened. And this is a well-known picture. And on the left-hand side is the bathhouse that served 300, had 300 changing rooms. Off in the distance is the pavilion, which the picnic shelter, of course, at Pavilion Park was mastered off of. The people on shore here are looking out at a rowboat race going on. This here, I believe it's the same time period. And so now you're looking down to the south and seeing, you know, thousands of people along the shorelines. The All Valley Picnic started in 1922. In 1932, this being the 10th, there was probably 8,000 people that attended the picnic that day. By 1937, they expected a crowd of over 40,000. There wasn't 40,000 people in the valley at that time, but they did expect 40,000. So a lot of people came from a lot of distance. There's all kinds of different events. This is 1926. They had a special strongman act that day, and this is just off from the beach in 1926. The park built a large midway, and they had a lot of different you know, games that they offered. And in this particular truck up here, you can barely see it, but the gentleman has a leather piece in his mouth that he's biting down, and it's attached to the car behind. And if you notice, the people are holding on to the car. I'm not sure if anyways, they were going to make it as difficult as possible for this stuntman. But anyways, large crowds gathered. Picnics, you know, Liberty Lake was also known as Spokane's picnic resort. And every association, fraternity, sorority, club, company, at one time or the other had their picnics, you know, at Liberty Lake. And this particular one is the 4L picnic, which was an association of lumber companies. It was a government union for lumber companies. And there's over 1,200 people in attendance at this particular picnic on Labor Day. So they had an open band shell similar to what we have at Pavilion Park. This was a band out of Montana that was performing. But again, all of these pictures are ones with gatherings. And you know, I probably have, you know, several hundred, you know, close to 1,000 photos, but these ones are specifically ones that show a lot of people involved. Now, this is, of course, Pavilion Park, which, which is our bringing it forward to present day and the crowds. So that again, and then what I did was I went ahead and I have a picture of the wall, and I said, well, what what would that look like? And as you can tell, there's not enough room to do everything. So, I was thinking, well, you could have a history of gathering, and you could talk about the Native Americans having their, Andrew Celtice was a sub-chief in the Coeur d'Alene tribe. He was gaining prominence within the leadership, and he started hosting picnics at Liberty Lake. Of course, he was over in what we now today called Saltese Flats. His name was called both Celtice and Saltese, and today we know it more as Celtice. But before he lived on the lake over there, and he but he would host them over here at his brother-in-law's, who was Peter Wildshoe. He had two brother-in-laws that lived here, Tecumseh and Peter Wildshoe. And at that time, the tribe was only around 500 people, and they would have about 500 people that would come to these gatherings. And we've depicted some of this in the mural at Pavilion Park. What I think would be really cool, and of course, it may take a little bit more wall space, but to have an artist rendering that could be a little bit of the gathering. Not there is showing the music part of it, but he had all these different events that Celtice would do. And he liked, in a lot of his sports and events he would do during these picnics, and it was like a 3-day affair, it taught skills to his people. And but it would be neat to have something that would show the native gathering. And you could do that up there. You could have one photo be it. You could have less of the other, and you could bring the current into it as well. But anyway, so that is one theme that I thought of. The other theme, as I mentioned, that has been part of our community history for over almost 170 years now, is that we know of, is recreation. So you have this one photo up here. There's a lot of different things with recreation. We could have, Katie, brought up about bicycling. One thing I like to do with my history is to connect Spokane to the greater world, or Liberty Lake to the greater world. But Liberty Lake's connection with Spokane, it doesn't take much effort, whether it be an automobile race, whether it be a bicycle race, whether it be a marathon race. It was often between Spokane and Liberty Lake. And so, back before, when, before there was much monies for governments for the government, whether it be the county or whether it be Spokane City, to put money into public projects. What would happen is that a club like the Bicycle Club, or the Good Roads Association, it was volunteers that were promoting what they were doing. And specifically with the bicyclists, they were trying to establish and raise funds to be able to do cinder paths, so they would be able to have good trails to ride on. And so they would bicycle from Spokane to Liberty Lake and back, or they'd go from Spokane to Liberty Lake and they would end at Liberty Lake, and there was a track at the large Liberty Lake Park on the west side of the lake. And so then they would do their final laps, you know, around there. And you know, it brought a lot of press in the papers. And that's how they went about, you know, marketing themselves, you know, and being able to raise public interest to be able to have these. But this was a baseball game at the Grocers Picnic. When the grocers and the butchers had their picnic at Liberty Lake, they would have, you know, around 4,000 members. They would advertise in the paper the day before, and they would say, if you're coming in for a ham or whatever you need from a grocery store or a butcher place, you need to come get it on Wednesday, because there's no business on Thursday. We're all out at Liberty Lake. And that's the way things were done back then. Fishing, of course, is a recreation that has been very common here at the lake. And this is a young group of men that were, the little guy there on the left, you know, he's showing, you know, how big his fish was. Of course, horseback riding. There was the prior picture was a boys' camp at Liberty Lake, and this was a girls' camp at Liberty Lake, and horseback riding was part of that. Swimming, this is back at the boys' camp again. George Libby's boys' camp, which ran at Liberty Lake in the 20s and later went up on Coeur d'Alene Lake. So swimming. This is a boat race going on here, and boating, and there's racing going on there. There's, of course, the everything from the launches that people took around to the rowboats and other wood in the middle boats. So more recreation. Oops. Somehow that. Okay. So aquaplaning, that was prior to water skiing, and most of these athletes, they built their own boards as well. So they had other skills other than just their sport. The big slide, I wrote about this recently, and the splash, but that there is a slide that was about 25 feet high. The first part was quite a free fall. They lowered it down by 8 feet about 5 years later. And then out on the far end, there were diving platforms and gymnastic rings and different other apparatuses there to enjoy the water.
They used to be able to do so many fun things.
Yes.
Now there's no diving boards at any pools because of all the lawsuits and everything.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Anyway, so here's an idea of how maybe you would do something like that on the wall. That is the wall there at going into the golf course part there at Trailhead. Another idea would be the Inland Empire Railroad Company that really made Liberty Lake what it became at that time, because they're the ones that built the park at the end. The whole idea of these excursion railways was to have something at the end so people would ride the line. And so you get all aboard for the lakes, and so you get on in Spokane and ride the electric line out. At first, you went out to Liberty Lake, and in 1903 they started. It was called, actually, interestingly, the Coeur d'Alene and Spokane, not the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. They were started by Blackwell, who was a lumberman in Coeur d'Alene. And they had about where True Legends is, they had a depot, and then there was a buckboard, a stagecoach, if you will, that took people in, or they walked in. Here's a map of the line.
Did that line go up to Sandpoint as well?
No, it farther as it went north was Hayden Lake. You can see that right here. So that's what was on the line. This particular map, and we could look at it afterwards, there's about 7 railroads on here, and it shows the ones that did go up there. But it started in Spokane, that's the junction there in the middle. And then it went up to Coeur d'Alene, and then to what is now the Hayden Lake Country Club, but back then the resort was called the Bozanta Tavern. Of course, here's the line in between, running in between. You could do a collage, this is just something I had done in the splash, but you know, you can do a collage of different memorabilia and different things and stuff that really tell the story of it. So here's the junction, what it eventually became after they added the spur line in. So on the left-hand side, they pull down into the lake, you know, that 2 miles. Here's the depot at the lake. Another picture of it. There's 3 most important people there, and the most important being the popcorn guy on the end, but there's the freight guy and then the telegraph operator there. And that's where the first post office was. I don't have a collective picture of showing that up there. I felt that parts of that were maybe important. Certainly the line did run right by here, and there might be another place in the city that's maybe more appropriate for that. But my first thought was the Arthur D. Jones property. It was very unique. Arthur D. Jones was one of the first prominent realtors in Spokane. James S. Black ended up buying out the Jones real estate firm. And now that would be NIA Black, I guess, or NAI Black. And but Jones, he followed wherever the railroads went, and different people that were different part of his company, his investors. He was always the managing partner, but he was, but some of the railroad people, you know, were also part of his company. But he had purchased by 1910. He controlled the ownership of the entire north side of the lake all the way over to where the sewer treatment plant is. And, you know, in 1910, people expected that Spokane's population was going to double by 1920. Well, a lot of things happened in there. A lot of economic things happened in there. A war happened in there. Did not happen. In fact, what land sold for in 1910 sold for no more in 1950. So there was parcels that sold prior to 1910 that went for far less in 1940 when people started acquiring some of what was part of the Arthur D. Jones estate. But Jones was very successful in a lot of different things, but what was unique about Jones was he knew that holding on to land itself without it being income producing was not a smart way to own land. And he loved farming. So he preferred the farm to the golf course. He was very successful, even with things not always going his way. But
Can I ask you a quick question?
yeah.
Of these 3 areas, like recreation, do you have anything on golfing, like for Trailhead? Do you have any pictures about golfing or not?
Well, the thing is that
Or basically, maybe they didn't have golf.
well, they, you know, the first golf course at Liberty Lake was built in 1959. And so interestingly, though, on some of this property here, there was a lot of proposals starting in the teens for golf at Liberty Lake, which is also an interesting story. But as far as golf itself, it did not exist until 1960. And that existed at the.
Do you have any pictures of the early golfing here? Or-
I have pictures at Liberty Lake Golf Course that are early.
I was just wondering, like at Trailhead, if they'd want like golf pictures, historical golf pictures, maybe.
You know, I mean, it definitely, you know, is something that I didn't know if the city wanted to show historical pictures of Liberty Lake golf courses. I mean, Liberty Lake, the county's courses. I mean, they are within the city, but I mean, I didn't know. But I mean, there are photos of that. I do have some early photos of the planting of Valley View golf course, which Trailhead is now. When I went there the other day, I was thinking it'd be kind of neat for those pictures to maybe be part of a, you have all those wonderful TVs up there. And it would be neat to have them maybe be part of a loop. Like you have the one photos up there where you say, rest in peace, old friends, to the old clubhouse. I have the early building of the clubhouse, the inside pictures of what it looked like before it all changed. It was very much a 70s structure. I can insult it because my family built it. The 70s, the lighting fixtures and everything, the orange naugahyde seats and the green and, the avocado green and those, I mean, it represented a time period.
Right.
And I have those, but and I can send those to you as well. But, there's some early planting. Interestingly, some of the early black and white photos are better than the color photos. However, the cameras were in the 70s, even though these were taken in 8x10 format. They're a little grainy, but they do exist. And so if I would have had a little bit more time, I would have had those here. But golf was prior to, so in the late teens, there was a proposal to build an 18-hole course, a championship type, a club type course at Liberty Lake on the property just north of, on the north shore of the lake. But what they were going to do was they wanted to run 4 holes in so people would get off at the junction and play golf on their way in. A lot of headlines, they said it's a done deal, didn't happen, but it's interesting. Then in the late 20s, the Spokane Country Club, several of its members wanted to move the Spokane Country Club and have it built at Liberty Lake, but again, did not happen. So in a way, you would say that when Valley View did happen, that type of thing and golf, being along that area, had been there, there'd been a lot of talk about that. But as far as, I mean, I'd be interested in some of your others' feedback as far as golf. I mean, what I would mostly have is stuff that's from the 60s, showing some players, say out on Liberty Lake Golf Course. I have some of the early photos just when they, the irrigation's up, the grass isn't in, that is looking back from the end of, well, I'm going to call Valley View now, Trailhead, looking back to the clubhouse. I have early ones of the clubhouse. I wish my family, other than the time that they hired that one professional photographer and a few things that ended up in the news, we didn't take pictures, so, I'd like to show you a picture of the 5-gallon buckets, not Home Depot buckets, metal buckets, that when we took all the little rocks off the greens and what those weighed. Though I no longer have muscle, but those was what gave me muscle. But there was a lot of interesting stuff that happened at that clubhouse, and I wrote on some of it, in the splash. When Expo 74 was across, they had all the motorhomes, mobile homes across that were the Winnebagos, and they called it Winnebago City. And they all were Expo 74 colors, and the Mounties stayed there, and the Russian dance team stayed there, and Valley View hosted them all for breakfast, and the continental breakfast was a misunderstanding by the one organizing it for the Russian dance team, and after they had their Danishes and whatever comes lightly in a continental breakfast, they which is something that's cultural for them, they wanted more food. They all in unison started banging their spoons on the table. So
You know, I think there's so much interesting information. I think it'd be great to focus on recreation and maybe have your top pictures of the different recreational things in history. Or if we could get some golf pictures from earlier days and then maybe add in some from today's. So it'd be like history and today's, what people are golfing, maybe some younger people or whatever. And then maybe Allison has some, other artwork that could be added in too. So
Right.
I think we gotta kind
Well,
of limit it down a bit. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, we're early on in our process to see which direction we want to go, and this is one idea that we will
Right,
do historical
exactly.
pictures. So maybe you can, keep going, and then if we need more information
Yeah.
as we go through the process, we can drill down a little bit.
okay. So this is a plat map 1910 that shows you Jones's Beach. So go to the north side of the lake and go forward, number 14, number 15. Those were all, for the most part, controlled by Jones. And that's 80% of what the city's on today. This is looking at Jones's Beach. One of the beauties of coming to Liberty Lake was that 10,000 people would come to the west side of the lake. But if you wanted to have privacy, because this real estate, wasn't something that was going to develop, this whole north side of the lake allowed you to rent one of the 100 rowboats they had at Liberty Lake Park, and you could row over there and have a beach to yourself, which was wonderful. This shows you that is an aerial view. All the white sand going up to the left is all Jones's property. That's apple orchards there, and then going up into the farmland or other wheat fields. This shows it to you from another angle in the lake. This here, again, is 1932, and nothing there is developed. This is from a top schoolhouse looking back towards the pavilion there. That's all Jones's Beach. The reason why Valley View was named Valley View originally was because of the views that it had. And, so these to me, were all view pictures here that seem to fit. So let me go back to that last one here. So this here is a great photo showing an overview of the whole Liberty Lake area. This here specifically is where we're talking about. So the right-hand side there. So go where you see Liberty Lake Road there, and so just left of Liberty Lake Road is Trailhead Golf Course. So that's about 1940 in that picture there. There were irrigation fields that weren't part of the irrigation here. Green Acres wasn't green when they developed Green Acres. But they ran canals, the first one out of Liberty Lake into Green Acres to make Green Acres green. And so these canals eventually came out of the river, and Liberty Lake, they both floated in and floated out of Liberty Lake. These are some of the farm animals that Arthur D. Jones had. This is his large harvest operation. You can see Big Rock in the background there. From 1910, to, well into the 70s, these were Liberty Lake stands. The city of Liberty Lake were all agricultural fields. One of the things that ties in the railroad to all this is that when somebody would invent something, you know, so right here, that this is, you know, this is some of the very first combined harvesters where they both thrashed it, they cut it and thrashed it, took the seed out of it. And they would put them in the fields here, and in the papers, they would say, you know, come out to Liberty Lake Junction and see these new strange inventions of the combine harvester. And that's what this is here. This is another one there of a new invention. That's Arthur D. Jones there in the foreground there. You know, so they would first cut the hay or cut the wheat, and they'd bind it. And so they'd put it into these shocks, they'd pick it up. Now that's before they'd use the combines. Arthur D. Jones didn't have a labor problem. He was right next to Spokane. If you're out in the middle of Lincoln County, you had a labor problem. So he pretty much did it the old fashioned way, even though he would show these, they would come out and demonstrate their machines out here. So this is a way to do the pictures, to layer them on top of each other. And just in the one thing, show the whole Jones thing there. And then this, you know, would be an idea, you know, of how you would do that. So. And you could also do it all in black and whites too. So one of the challenges, is you probably saw from this, was that when you're dealing with, you know, the more content you try to get into something on, you know, even though, you know, a 5 by 10 foot area is a nice area. You know, it's hard to get a lot of content there. I mean, less is usually more in those cases. I think by having an artist, you know, be able to cover the area that isn't covered by photography, you know, might be kind of nice. And anyways, those are the themes that I came up with. So.
Well, we thank you for putting all that together. I like the collages and the way you've displayed that. And like I say, you're our first presentation for what we might do with that. And I learned a lot today. So again, thank you for that. And as we discuss it as a commission, if we have questions, then we'll reach out to you and see if we need more information. But that's an incredible job. We appreciate you coming.
I did, and I guess I did reach out to Jason Nichols from Mountain Dog Sign Company, only because I've worked with him in the past, and like the way this is displayed here shows kind of what they do, but at Barlow's, for any of you have been there, they did that. And so, but I just included, you know, some of the media type that maybe you do, like with pictures. Different than Barlow's, they're now doing it also on aluminum. And I understand that with black and whites, sometimes they'll snap really well, that they present well. They also are doing it on vinyl, where I wasn't thinking of this for the Tintford area, but if you ever get into wanting to do a larger area, like between the bathrooms there, that would be probably a real interesting way, you know, to do something like that, to work with a graphic artist and doing collage, you know, type stuff, including art and stuff in there. One of the nice things about something like that is when you do something as a collage type thing, it instead of just having one little marker that shows that explains it, you can incorporate it and, you know, and have it in more places. And then lastly, this is what we have at Barlow's. This is the St. John Historical Society what they did there, and this is on their, I think PVC material that they overlay, their vinyl, and all that's cleanable, which
Mhm.
is really nice for.
Yeah, that is nice.
So anyways,
Well, thanks
That's
again
it.
for coming and we appreciate your time and effort you put into your
Well, thank you.
presentation.
thank you.
All right, next up on our agenda, Allison, it's your turn to let us know what you found out.
Okay, you see me? Okay. So me and my teacher put together this presentation to like showcase some of the all students at Ridgeline have done. The next slide, please. So here, this is like a color pencil example that students have done in the past. It's more geometric, but it's definitely colorful. Next. This is with oil pastels. These are kind of like replicas of like famous paintings or inspired by famous paintings. Next. This is also by oil pastel and inspired by famous paintings of artists. Next. This is like a veterans theme we did for our school. So if the trailhead was thinking of doing like a specific theme in the future, we can have students at Ridgeline prepare something for them ahead of time. If you give us like the size of the pieces of the art piece you want, and if you want like a copy or like the original, so we can do something for Veterans Day like this. Next. This is also with oil pastels. This is like a jellyfish theme we did. In the middle is a piece I've done in the past. And yeah, it's been fun. Next. This is a kind of like a telescope, color pencil and pen project we've done in the past. So that's just like another thing we could do. This is more like a stained glass and abstract thing with color pencil and pen. Next. This is also like a stained glass and color pencil piece we've done in the past. That could look cool on the art wall. Next. This is with oil pastel again, and more of like a spacey astronaut theme that we've done. And this is like a mock-up example of like what it would look like without pieces on the walls. This is just in my teacher's classroom that she put up, but this is just gives us a visual of what it could look like. So that's it.
Wow, there's some beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
And so the school and the students would be open to themed art if we decided to go that route?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Just give us like a deadline and like the size you want. And my teacher can always make copies of the works if you don't want the original work. So it's easier to find maybe. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions for Allison on that? Well, you've given us some more food for thought, Allison. I appreciate your work on putting that together, and be sure and tell your teacher, thank you for her efforts on the project.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for allowing me to present this.
One idea maybe would be the artwork on that poster that David was talking about for the 4th of July. Or about all the community events. Maybe they could do some artwork for that poster.
Oh, like for the background of the poster?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
that could be something.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item. We have the city council and project coordination. Mark?
So I think we'll
Would
introduce
Jen
this.
will introduce.
Yeah, this is a discussion based off of some feedback at I believe it was our last meeting where council had some projects that they put on their unfunded budget list during budget season last fall, they also did add a community pool to the extended 6-year capital facilities plan. And so I think the question was asked, how can we better the communication between the Parks and Arts Commission and the city council so that the city council maybe has more opportunity to refer those projects to the Parks and Arts Commission instead of reading it in the splash or
Right.
hearing it secondhand. So
Right.
that's how I'll kick that off. So we were wondering if Mark had any thoughts. I think that, I know Mark and I have talked a little bit about what some options might be to further that conversation. One of the suggestions that I had would be to take advantage of those monthly updates at city council and start those conversations at least there at a minimum. Maybe it's something as simple as asking the council, hey, are there any projects that you've been discussing that maybe we would like to know about? Is there any way we can be involved? So asking the questions and being proactive from the commission's perspective. I think that that could go a long ways in starting any conversations, particularly as budget season starts to creep up. Late summer, start those conversations now. Ask them, point blank, are there any projects on the unfunded list that we could be involved with discussing? That's probably a good place to start. And then I think Mark maybe had a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, so thanks, Jen. So a couple of just observations. There are a lot of things I think that we can timeline wise back up in the budget calendar to provide some additional opportunities for some kind of collaboration. And for example, we had the survey that went out to the community last year that asked what were the community's priorities for those things that were already on the unfunded projects list. And so maybe an option is, if we're going to do that every year or every other year, whatever the cadence ends up being, is before that, before those results are presented directly to the city council, they could come to the Community Engagement Commission, they could come to the Parks and Arts Commission, they could come to the Planning Commission, and whomever else may need to hear those, so that there can be some dialogue based on the results from the community as it pertains maybe to some priorities and initiatives that have been started by the commissions. And then take that input, combine it with the public input and present that to council, something like that. There's also, I think, an opportunity for each commission to have a regular work session or workshop with the council specifically to talk about maybe like the coming year's work plan. And that may be an opportunity where you could get into that dialogue with council specifically about some things that you wanted to accomplish or wanted to discuss with them about what they wanted to accomplish in the upcoming year, so that you could incorporate those things in either your strategic planning or your budget planning. And so those are just a few options. There are others that may come along that would help to make sure that that communication is flowing both ways. And a lot of it, I think, is going to be how successful we are with the engagement opportunities that we kind of are using or hoping to use to get public feedback, and then what we do with that data, right? So does it go directly to council? Does it come to a specific commission or group of commissions for some other kind of analysis before it goes to council? So those kinds of considerations, and that'll be a learning process over time, right? I don't know that there's a best answer or a final answer today, but those will probably be things that we learn what best practices are over time. So
It's almost like, I mean, in the greater scheme of things, this is a relatively new commission. Even though it's, been around for over 5 years now, but we have commission members that come and go, and there's city council members that come and go. So it's almost, part of it is an education process of exactly our role is defined, but are we doing, the definition of our role? And then, like you say, how we interact with city council. Like we were wondering, the upcoming town square master plan, would we have a seat at the table and have some conversation in that and how, our voices can be heard and we can be utilized as the reason we're here.
Yeah, I think on that question specifically, and this will be solidified as we get closer to whatever that process is going to look like. But for Town Square master planning specifically, absolutely, to include having at least someone from this commission and maybe some others to sit on like a selection panel for whomever that project manager is going to be that we end up hiring to do that programming and design work. So to the extent that we want your input in that way, absolutely. And then, that particular project would include a fairly extensive public engagement process to get a sense of what the real desire is from the public for the use of that space. And I can see there being a very close and very defined role for not only this commission, but the Community Engagement Commission and some others in that process as well. So those things are still kind of being put together, but for certain, you would need to have a direct and prominent role in that process. And I would say the same thing about the development of the new library as well, so.
Yeah, we already have a beam to make into a bench for it, so. Anybody have any questions for Mark about the process? I know Laura, you're probably one of our longer standing commission members on how interaction has been working between council and commission and what suggestions you might have to improve that relationship.
I would agree with you. I think there's an education element to it in terms of as new members are being onboarded on both sides. I know it's been a struggle, to be honest, but I feel like, our participation in providing updates at the council meetings, I'm hoping has helped kind of keep them abreast of what we're doing, in the staff reports of, the CIP and the budget and what's coming up. I think it's more, how to, not to make it one side, but how to improve the communication of expectations from council of our commission of what projects we should be involved in and what the expectation is of what value we're providing to that process, whether it be as an advisory type role or actually, taking the lead on some element or projects or something that is part of that. So I think what you're saying is, the workshops or there's other ideas of how to create that engagement. But I feel like from the inception of the commission, there's been tremendous strides forward. I think there's obviously still some small opportunities of how we can continue to improve on both sides.
Yeah, I think to address specifically that comment, my recommendation would be certainly to establish at least an annual workshop. So with the purpose of having that kind of level setting, expectation setting conversation that goes both ways so that at least for that upcoming year's period, you're on the same page. Now, maybe that needs to be twice a year, but certainly once a year, you need to be having that conversation with enough time between it and the budget finalization for you to be able to incorporate it into what you're planning and funding through the budget.
So you would see that maybe like first quarter or certainly no later than early second quarter because the budget we turned in July or something like that.
Right. I mean, it can really be anywhere in there, right? I would put it in a place where you feel most comfortable, preparing to have that conversation so that you're able to articulate what your year in advance is going to look like. And if you can do that as early in the year as possible, that's great. But if you can't do it until say June or something, that's okay too. It just means you'll have fewer weeks on the back end to put that feedback into the budget. So you just kind of have to weigh those things.
Is that something you would schedule with council for us? Or?
Absolutely. So if you were, I guess it was on January 16th, when we have these third weeks in between or fifth weeks in between, it seems like there's forever, but between council meetings. But so January 16th, if you listen to that meeting, we talked about scheduling the Community Engagement Commission's next workshop. And so that would just fit into that calendar and we would put it on for a regular cadence, whatever that ended up being. And so, yes, we can get that scheduled for you. You would just need to tell me what your preferred kind of window is and we can get that in there.
Okay. Anything else, folks? Bob, anything from you?
I think Bob.
Bob's gone.
He's gone.
And if I can just kind of put a bow on that really is more of a planning conversation, right? That's not, I'm reporting to you and I'm listening to your, we're jointly, it's a joint workshop, right?
Like
So
how
you're-
we can work together?
Yeah, so you're planning, yeah.
Okay. Fine. Yeah, that's a nice educational piece, just how we can help them, how they can help us, and what does the future look like?
Absolutely. And you're always, and again, if you choose to do it twice a year, you stay in that much more sync, but at least you have that annual opportunity that's kind of coinciding with the budget process to get in sync. So.
Okay. Anything else? All right, well, we appreciate you sticking around. and
Sure.
Being there for that. The next item on our agenda is the Harvard Trailhead Project by Greenstone. And Jen, you had something?
Yeah, just a quick update on that. I don't have a ton of detail at this moment. Hope to get more in the next 2 weeks from Greenstone, but they are proposing a renovation of the trailhead at the Harvard Centennial Trail entrance. And from what it sounds like, they're anticipating redoing the landscaping, redoing the pavement, replacing the vault toilet with a full running water facility. They are approaching the Centennial Trail Coordinating Council on Thursday at their meeting with their idea. And then we'll be working with staff. We have a meeting with them on February 19th to start looking at some concepts, I believe. I think that's what that meeting is going to update us on. So as we know more, what I'm thinking is I'd like to bring them in just to share their idea with the commission. I don't know if there's any way to be involved or not. They haven't stated anything like that, but if there is interest to be involved in the project, it's a good opportunity for the commission to weigh in at that time.
Now, did you say that was a shared property or?
Part of it is city right of way. A small part of it is Greenstone and yes, it's shared. Yeah.
Okay,
So as I know more, I'll keep everybody updated, and try to get them in, hopefully in the March meeting for an update.
okay,
Yeah, that sounds really awesome.
yeah.
I feel like there's some people in the community that are a little nervous about safety at the trailheads. So I think that developing and fixing it all up will make people feel more comfortable, you know.
I like that that parking lot is right by the road, so there's so many eyes on it all the
Yeah.
time that I hope I think I glanced at that plan. I hope that the bathrooms are away from the road and the parking is still highly visible to the road because that's a lot of it is vehicle break-ins at those trailheads.
Yeah.
Greenstone always does a good job though. All right, next we have the Stafford report.
So we have Derek Kosanke on the line. I'd like to introduce him as our new park supervisor for the city. So he's going to be working with me to help kind of oversee the crew and lead them in their daily tasks. Derek, you want to say hello?
Hi, my name's Derek Sankey. Really look forward to working with you guys and being more involved.
We also hired a recreation coordinator today, made an offer for him and he will start March 4th. So I will have him attend our next meeting, which this will be scheduled for his first day. Upcoming events, some of them have dates, some don't. At the time that I printed this, I didn't have dates on everything. But you can see the list has already begun. Projects, that kind of lists some of the projects, particularly those C, D, and E park projects for the year. I don't know that the commission wants to weigh in on those 3 projects. They're mostly just facility improvement type projects. And then recreation is getting very busy. This recreation coordinator is coming in just at the right time. And then, the next meeting, February 20th for city council, we would ask if somebody would like to do the report. And we are really low on commissioners right now. We have Joni and Allison online. And you three. So I don't know if maybe I send an email out or.
Yeah, I
You
don't
can
know if Noel
volunteer.
would wanna
Yeah,
do that, or
but I'm happy to send an email.
does
out.
anybody that's still in the meeting have an interest in doing the council report on February 20th? I know Laura is really good at making slides.
I'm happy to make a
Alright.
slide update. I have a board meeting that night, so I'm unable to do it.
Yeah. Well, maybe why don't you send out an email and then we'll figure it out. from
Yeah,
there.
but I'm happy to put together update slides.
All right, good.
Jen, I said, sorry, one quick comment on that. I received, we talked to the artist about extending the mural out to the lines, and she was there just kind of looking things over and just sent me a note that it looked like the court surface beneath the mural was cracking. And so I don't know if that's something that we want to look at, or if there's more, warranty on
We would
that.
Likely have Aero come in, Aero Concrete, who did the
Okay.
surface.
Yeah, she had said she noticed it was starting to crack in some places, so I wanted to bring that to your attention. I haven't had a chance to run over there, but.
Do you know, I was talking to the folks at Hoop Fest the other day, and I was wondering, do we know when the artist might complete the work? Because then we'll schedule the dedication.
I'll check with her. I know the product that she used had specific temperature requirements. I'll see what she had in mind, but for her purposes, there's no new agreement that's required. She just will schedule the work with her and she invoices the city, or does something need to be approved through council on that, or has
No,
been, or?
just schedule with staff.
Okay,
And actually Derek will be the contact for that. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll connect Derek and Danielle then. Okay.
perfect. And Derek, if you could follow up on that court cracking,
Yes, ma'am.
we'll chat tomorrow some more. So.
That'll be nice, and that's one thing that we'll have to work with council, and hopefully we can get some council members there for the dedication, and maybe a little demo from some Hoop Fest affiliated people or local basketball teams, Laura.
It'd be nice too to maybe tie the skate park. I know when I talked to that artist, he was, he had met a lot of people as he was working and was trying to coordinate something just for his own advertising purposes of having some of those guys out doing, utilizing the park and taking pictures of it for
Do you
his
see
own
us
branding.
doing
And
both of them at the same?
I mean, I don't know if that's possible or what the group thinks, or if that's maybe a topic for the next meeting, but just since it's all kind of in that area and it's all new, it might be a
We
nice.
could have some maybe borders over there doing some demos and
Yeah.
both artists and. it'd be
Yeah, I
fun.
didn't know if you wanted to keep them kind of, since they were separate projects, but since it's all kind of in that corner of the park, it might be kind of a fun.
Yeah, we could have it almost like a
dedication.
little mini kind of event kind of thing. It'd be fun.
Do we have a date for that? Eva?
No, we need the artist has to complete some little touch-ups on the project, and then we just need decent weather and a schedule that would work for some of the council members, and and Hoop Fest people and 2 artists, so I don't have a date. All right. So you're gonna send the email out on the deal. Our next meeting is March 4. Anything else for the greater good? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor of adjournment? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, folks.